Welcome back to the Marvelous Wave, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and today we will be discussing the nightmares in Iron Man 3. The lasting impact of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has sent ripples that will continue affecting the MCU for years to come. These effects have ensured that Doctor Strange's second solo outing will remain one of the most significant adventures to date. But while the future is being drastically affected, so too is the past of the Marvel Universe. So stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's explore some of the lesser realized effects that the Multiverse of Madness has had on the past MCU entries that previously may not have been fully realized. In the Multiverse of Madness, it's revealed that dreams are windows into the lives of a character's multiversal selves and variants of oneself. And this means that every dream that has been mentioned in the MCU has much more significance now going forward. A brief disclaimer before we get started. We understand that Loki only recently broke the multiverse open from the sacred timeline, and the multiverse didn't technically exist until last year by our standards. But this still affects the entirety of the MCU timeline as we know it. We know this because Nexus events can happen anywhere on the timeline. We've seen Nexus events take place as far back as 1942 when Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers, as well as the new timeline caused by Loki's adoption being changed, and even the fundamental evolution of humanity as a whole as evidenced by the inclusion of Charles Xavier. The presence of Professor X and the concept of mutants in the Multiverse of Madness seems to indicate that the Celestials did something different with their experimentation thousands of years ago as per comic book standards, as this is how the mutants came to be in the comic book iteration of the Marvel Universe. Due to this, the multiverse exists in a sort of limbo where it both exists and doesn't exist at the same time. But the multiverse is now omnipresent and is affecting the entire timeline of the Marvel Universe as we know it. This also means that many of the most personally harrowing stories in the MCU are not exactly what they seem. For one, Tony Stark's management of his PTSD in Iron Man 3. This PTSD can now be seen under a brand new lens, and we can see various traumas endured by multiple MCU fan favorites. It also means that several variants potentially have insight into the mainline MCU as a result of their dreams, which can be used in any number of different ways in different plot points in the future. This seems to indicate that the mental stability of a character has a direct result on which multiversal doppelgangers dreamers get to see. And perhaps in Marvel, going to therapy and becoming more mentally sound doesn't mean what we previously thought it might. Perhaps improving mental health in order to mitigate the nightmares is simply steering the dream world toward a different multiversal variant. This also might indicate that variants are connected emotionally, and variants will see into different lives of those who are most closely connected to on an emotional level. But it also means that while 616 heroes are able to see into different multiversal selves, so too are other variants able to see into the MCU. There's no telling how many variants have seen the mainline MCU via their dreams that they have seen in their own worlds, and many individuals might recognize this reality as the one from a prominent dream, much like Doctor Strange did when examining Defender Strange for the first time in Multiverse of Madness. As far as the personal stakes for the multiversal selves of many heroes goes, however, there are multiple disturbing implications for many of our favorite heroes, mainly Tony Stark. In Iron Man 3, Tony spends the duration of his third movie coping with the multiple nightmares about the Chitauri invasion and the Battle of New York that he has recently engaged in. But the logic proposed by the Multiverse of Madness suggests that these weren't actual memories, but they were instead multiversal variants, cursed to replay this battle into eternity. If this is the case, then in the grand scheme of calculus of the multiverse, Tony Stark is, and always will be, battling the Chitauri with traumatic results. However, this also means that in Infinity War, the dream that he recounts to Pepper also exists somewhere in the multiverse, and is a much more lighthearted timeline so far as we know. In his first scene in Infinity War, Tony Stark tells Pepper Potts in the park that he had a dream wherein they had a child, and he cites that it felt incredibly real. This seems to indicate that in this dream, he saw the life of his multiversal doppelganger and saw his daughter years before we as an audience ever get to see her for the first time in Endgame. Somewhere in the multiverse, another iteration of Morgan not only exists, but was seen by our Tony Stark before his death at the end of Endgame. It's even possible that this multiversal doppelganger shares the same fate face as his daughter, much like Loki variants or variants of Wanda Maximoff from Earth 838. This seems to have a few implications depending on how old this iteration of Morgan was when Tony from 616 saw her. If she was still a child, roughly 4 years old like the Life in Endgame, then we might have seen his daughter's face years ahead of time. If however she was older than this, and Tony got to see either a teenage or adult version of Morgan, then he may have gotten to see her all grown up. While Tony won't be able to see Morgan grow up on 616, it's theoretically possible that he got a glimpse through the multiverse and through his multiversal self, and might have seen some semblance of peace without ever truly realizing it. On top of this, if the multiversal Tony got to see Morgan grow up, then there is likely a timeline where he is truly happy and retired from Iron Man. Though Tony Stark's incredibly compelling journey in his fight against PTSD was heartfelt, he is far from the only MCU character to have disturbing dreams with severely important implications as of now. In the Multiverse of Madness, Wanda Maximoff gets glimpses into the happiest parts of her life via the multiversal variants who live with her children in peace. We also know, however, that Wanda had a severely traumatic life before the events of this film, and most likely suffered severe nightmares as a result of it, be it due to the war that waged during Sokovia, the death of her parents, her brother, or even Vision himself. If Wanda dreams about this, then it means that her multiversal counterparts are still living through these traumas and will be destined to forever. On top of this, we've heard Natasha Romanoff allude to the trauma of inadvertently killing Antonia Dreykov, but this is a little different than the two previous examples, and we'll explain why. While Tony and Wanda have variants that are going through the same traumas, Natasha failed to kill Antonia on this timeline. If however this young girl died in Natasha's dreams, then it means that she succeeded in killing Antonia in multiple realities, and there are several universes wherein Natasha truly did murder Antonia Dreykov. While we don't see the full implications of what this would have meant, it likely would have entailed Natasha taking a similar mental trajectory until 2016. In 2016, Natasha not only learns the truth, but has the ability to make amends and redeem herself by saving Antonia properly this time, likely altering the course of her mental stability. On multiple timelines, however, Natasha never got this closure. It also means that Bucky's wartime nightmares that keep him awake at night are also indicative of his multiversal selves continually being trapped within the Winter Soldier persona, and continuing to commit heinous murders and assassinations on multiple other timelines, haunting Bucky even in the universe wherein he is on the road to recovery. The dreams in the Marvel Universe mean so much more now. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of the implications that dreams now are mainstays of the MCU and glimpses into multiversal variants of the same character? And what impact do you think that this will have on the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Also, did you think about and catch this detail before this video? As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope you have a great day.